What on earth is Omega Mart? And let's open the video today by asking, what on earth are you even talking about? What is it?
Sure. Omega Mart. Omega Mart is the best, especially like you and your people spend time in Vegas.
Yes.
Next time you're in Vegas, go to Omega Mart.
Is it like a Wawa?
No, it is an art installation slash virtual reality simulation slash fake grocery store.
Now I'm completely fascinated, and we must find out what Omega Mart is as we begin the first video on what I decided at 5:30 this morning shall be called the Industry Influencer Series. No, not to be too pretentious and become influencers when you're actually broke in the background, because there's a lot of those you guys don't know about.
Yeah.
Not to be influencers in the sense where I'm just going to say stuff to get people to click on things. I'm not that smart yet. But actual people who know actually what they're talking about and who will get on camera and share some information with those willing to watch. Nick, I've got agreements with Adam Hale to come on and talk with us, one of the big cheeses at Lincoln Heritage.
Sure.
I'm sure I could get some of my other big names to come and record, but I asked you to do this one first because I think you were the first person that ever did a YouTube video with me back in
17, I think. Maybe 16. Maybe as long ago as 2016. It's been a while.
It has. And I think many of the videos we did, many people have done this on and watched a few times. And I'm sure you've heard before. I actually watched that video with you on it once. Have you had those conversations before?
Occasionally. It's always weird. It's always really weird when somebody's like, oh, hey, I know you. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. And they're like, no, you wouldn't. It's because I saw you on a YouTube show.
Exactly.
It's very strange.
I was at 8% something nation conference, whatever verb they were using. And I had a few people walk up to me and say that in a flattering sense. And I'm glad that at least 3 or 4 people are clicking on the video and watching it for longer than 2 minutes. So today I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 things written down for us to talk about so we can keep it within a time that people will actually watch. But I want to just kind of start with something simple for those watching. It's the importance of schedule, but the importance of recognizing that we're running a marathon and not a race. I think it's so easy to work so hard and then one day look up and everything's gone, but a big bank account to go with it. I think there's so easy to never work enough and never see this to its full potential, but to find a balance that works. So Nick, you've been in this industry longer than me. Talk to us or whoever's watching today a little bit about schedule in your business.
Well, so and when you say my business, I'm assuming you mean mostly life insurance sales.
Yeah, let's start ground level, personal producer stuff, and we'll work into a bigger picture from there.
Okay. I think you're right. And it's almost become kind of a meme at this point. Like, grind culture is a problem. And it's not just in our industry, it's in a lot of industries. Hustle culture is creating broken homes and broken lives and broken mental health and all that kind of stuff. When you work for yourself as an independent insurance agent, it is very easy to get caught up in the idea that you can just work as much as you need to and do all of the things that you possibly need to make as much money as you could possibly want. It's also easy to go the other way and be like, I work for myself, I can do nothing. But those tend to be the two extremes, right? And neither one of those is neither one of those is good. Like, both of those are bad. It's easier to do something about the people who are like, I work for myself, I can do nothing. That's a lot easier to fix because you get external pressure. You stop being able to pay your rent. You stop being able to buy food. You stop. Your spouse gets mad at you. You get problems in your life if you don't go to work for long enough and you just don't get paid.
Yeah.
So that one is sort of self-correcting a little bit. I mean, and some of those people just end up not in the industry anymore. And honestly, that's probably for the best. But the harder one is the people who are like, well, shoot, if I run 5 appointments 5 days a week and I can write $5,000 in premium, have enough time in my day where I could really run 10 appointments 5 days a week. I just need to buy some more leads, maybe hire an appointment setter, get some more, buy some more leads, run 10 appointments a day, 5 days a week. I'm not doing that much on Saturdays. 10 appointments a day, 6 days a week. And then I'll be writing like $15,000 a week. And then I'm a millionaire in like 2 years. I just have to do it for 2 years. I just have to not have any kind of life. I need to have no social anything, no time off, and just grind it out for like 2 years. And then I'm a millionaire. And then, let's do that. Like, let's go. And like you hear people saying this, like, I wish that I was making that up. It's not a good idea. You want to have, for a lot of reasons, but you want to have, you need to have downtime. You need to have balance, especially if you're working in sales. There is almost a law that if you don't go into sales fresh enough, you will start blowing sales that you should be making. You need the downtime. So like, I'm not going to tell anybody the way that they should structure their downtime, but I will say how I structure mine. I run a long day on a Monday, and I've done this for years. I haven't changed my schedule since 2014 or 2015, something like a long time. I run a long day on a Monday. I run like 10 appointments on a Monday. And then I don't run appointments on Tuesday. At this point, I have an appointment setter because I've got other things going on now. Before
Nothing wrong with delegation. Delegation is a valuable skill.
Right. And we can talk about whether or not having an appointment setter is good for most agents. I actually think having an appointment setter sort of makes you play the game on hard mode, sort of unnecessarily. It's not something I would encourage people to do unless they are okay with doing the game on hard mode, because they have other things that they need to do with that time.
Yeah.
But you know, I would call on Tuesday mornings and Tuesday evenings to set appointments for Wednesday, and I would set what I called a short day on Wednesday, which would be like 8 appointments. But then I'd run like 18 appointments for the week, and I was done. And that was my week. If for some reason stuff kind of fell apart a little bit and I needed to pick up some catch-up appointments, or I needed to move some stuff around, or I had to go do some follow-up appointments or whatever, I had Thursday for that. And that was my catch-all day to kind of very lightly, you know, go see 3, 4, 5 people maybe, catch some stuff up, go back, get a signature that got missed, whatever needs to get picked up.
That's some OG stuff right there. Get a signature that got missed.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Thank God.
Yeah. But back in the day when you used to have to do paper apps with Transamerica, but that would be Thursday. And then Friday was like intentionally like a day off. I would maybe do some professional development stuff. I would do some office work. I would, you know, get myself organized, get myself ready for the weekend, whatever. But that was it. I would run like 2 days and change. And for me, that worked really well. Like, because I would rather push very hard for a short period of time and then get a significant amount of break than push kind of moderate hard every single day. I feel like I always was working less hard than the people who were running like 4 appointments a day, but doing it 5 days a week. You know, they were technically running more appointments than me, but I was working a lot less hard than them. And it gave me time to do things like I also said to myself when I started this, hey, I know I'm not always going to be home for dinner to have dinner with my family. I try to be home for dinner more days a week than not, but I'm not always going to be able to, you know, at least 2 days a week, possibly 3 days a week. It's just not going to happen. But I will always have breakfast. And so for my family, like breakfast in the morning became what dinner at night is for a lot of families. I always take my kid to school. You know, that's just a thing that we did because I wanted to have that time with my kid, and spend that time with my family. You know, my wife and I have a standing lunch date on Tuesday afternoons. One, so I can have some time with just me and my wife as adults, but also so that I don't schedule appointments on Tuesday afternoons, because it is sometimes something that you need to do. But like, yeah, Tuesday at 1 o'clock, if you try to call me for any reason, I am probably at lunch with my wife. So I mean, this is stuff that gets set up. I feel like because of it, I have always had more free time than almost all the agents that I talk to. I talk to a lot of agents who are very like, oh, I only want to door knock leads. I don't want to set appointments. You're going to work harder. I mean, it's okay if that's what you want to do. You'll see more of your leads. You will resolve more of your leads. I probably throw away leads that could be sold that you don't. But you're working harder. Same thing with an appointment setter. Like I have an appointment setter now, and I know I work harder because of it. Because I went for 8 years without an appointment setter, and I know what the difference is.
Oh yeah.
I have since then, I have decided, for better or for worse, to help people with Medicare. And I started doing that as an independent agent, and I had these free days on Thursdays, and those became my Medicare days because, I stopped needing to do pickup appointments on Thursdays. And so my Medicare appointments would get dumped onto Thursdays, back when the 48-hour scope of appointment rule was still in place and you had to have 2 days between. I would, set those appointments. I would get scopes signed on a Monday and go back and see those people on a Thursday. And sometimes Friday. And it creeps, right? Like, and so then I'm running final expense appointments, Monday, Wednesday, and then like Thursday, Friday, I'm picking up Medicare appointments, but still Medicare appointments are pretty relaxed. And then, other agents want to be like, well, how are you working Medicare into your life? And you're like, well, let me help you. And then suddenly you've got a downline of a couple dozen agents who are working with you, and they're taking up a lot of your time, and it does creep. And so work-life balance is something that you need to kind of fight to preserve, because it's very easy, if you're not careful, to let it creep in.
I think that it's figuring out what your balance is and then beholden to that balance. Like your schedule is your schedule. I know your schedule, and it's not like we even talk on a daily basis. It's just that's Nick's schedule. I know he's run on a Tuesday. If I have a quick question, you might answer it it's his schedule.
Yeah.
And
it hasn't changed.
And when you know your schedule, your family knows your schedule, your friends know your schedule, your agency knows your schedule, and that structure all kind of builds in and around itself. I think sometimes agents struggle to find schedule and balance because they don't have any and their family can't get on board with it. And because they're self-employed, all of a sudden they're the designated hobby go-to person for stuff instead of actually working. So I think when you get your family on your side, they can be your biggest support structure and hold you in line with your schedule just as much.
Absolutely. And getting that buy-in from your family. Like, I think having a standing lunch date with my wife on Tuesdays was an important part of this. I think having it set up that I take my daughter to school every morning, was an important part of this, because that adds structure, and you're right. I know more agents than I can count who, because they have a flexible schedule, they're the ones that take the kids to soccer, and they take the kids to doctor's appointments, and they take, and they're the ones that are doing all of this stuff because their significant other is the person with a 9-to-5 job, and it's so much harder for them. And listen, I get all of that stuff. And,
Absolutely.
I am fortunate that I make enough money that my wife is now working for me, and it is all single household income. And before that, she was a stay-at-home mom for a while. And before that, she was working from home as a bookkeeper. So we've both had flexible schedules for a long time. And it does get harder if, somebody has to be at a 9-to-5 job, something's got to give. But
I still think you can find a balance, though.
You can find the balance. Yeah.
I heard that excuse from an agent. Well, I can't do this because it's around my wife's schedule. I'm like, well, figure it out. Let's take this to the next level here. My girlfriend knows if any of the kids get sick on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday, I got it. I'll figure it out. Whatever's wrong with them, I'm home with them. But if it's Tuesday and Wednesday, don't ask. Like in a respectful, everyone's on the same page kind of sense, I can't help with that kind of a day.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of day that everything else works around.
Right.
And everything else works because this works. So let's keep that cog in the wheel and everything else will turn.
Right. Like, don't talk to me on a Monday about anything. Right. Like, I don't, like, if you call me on a Monday, I'm not answering my phone. Like, that just, it just is. I mean, and again, for well over, like half a decade or more, that's just been life. And I think that buy-in from the family is so important. Like, if your family's not on board, this whole thing doesn't work anyway.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to have everybody on board and pulling in the same direction. And some of that comes from your mindset also. Like, if you're treating this like this is a get rich quick scheme, like you are joining, I don't want to call out any particular companies, but you're joining some sort of multi-level marketing get rich quick scheme, and maybe you have a history of doing that sort of thing, and you treat this like that also. I can see why your family might not be so much on board. And this is not a get rich quick scheme.
No.
It is a get rich. Like, I mean, like very, very, very wealthy is possible in this industry. But it takes laying a foundation and a groundwork so you don't drive yourself crazy, you don't drive your family crazy, and you don't burn out. When the agents that start doing wacky stuff and getting in trouble with the Department of Insurance and getting in trouble with the law and getting in trouble with their uplines and getting in trouble with creditors, almost without fail, they're like the biggest proponents of hustle culture, and they just got there because they started burning out. They couldn't keep up with the pace that they had set for themselves. Got to be realistic.
I think sometimes it's like the hobby versus entrepreneur mentality. It's easy to get into the business, come from a job, come from whatever career you're doing, think of this as a job for a while, but then you reach a certain point, you realize you're more of an entrepreneur than you are an employee, and all those other level of responsibilities that come with it. I think it's easy to look at this as Uber instead of an insurance business because you're not coming into an office. You're not clocking in. There's no one saying, why didn't you come in today? If you don't submit any numbers, is anyone really going to be? It just doesn't happen. Like, we have to recognize that to become successful, you have to move your mindset from a hobbyist to an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, and I like that because it is really easy to look at this as a hobby, right? And you even see it with people who want to come in and work part-time, and work part-time in the insurance industry. And I get the reason why you would want to. I get why it's like, oh man, this is a thing that I could maybe do on the side. But it's a bad mindset, so much of any kind of sales is psychological. And it's not all the psychology between you and your prospect. A lot of it is between you and yourself.
It's mostly you, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just how you are approaching things. And getting into that situation where you are approaching the job from the right mindset, where you are in Terminator mode, to borrow a phrase from one of my mentors. Travis Tubbs likes to say, when you get out and you hit the road, you go into Terminator mode and nothing can stop you, and spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours one day just knocking on doors and laser focused on your objective. And then you can turn it off. But you have to have that ability to become very laser focused, and it's got to be serious. You gotta treat the whole thing like you are starting a business. You are starting a business.
Yeah. I got a question for you that we didn't really prep for, but I think is worth insight. I think a lot of people that watch videos and learn or engaged in the social media environment of the business, they think to themselves, the people that are successful, no, not the fakers, but like genuinely stable and successful, they just had it good. Like, things went their way, things fell into place, things have been pretty steady for them. Have things actually gone, I'm not even getting specific, but have you gone through things going wrong in life and seen that it isn't always just perfection for 10 years straight?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I sent my wife a text message this past Monday, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I don't have the ability to persuade anybody to do anything anymore. I don't know what happened, but like I whatever ability I had is gone. We're out. We're gonna find a new job. And she was, and she knew I was joking, but like it was a bad day. Bad days happen. Um, I had that bad day, and I finished the week uh with over $10,000 of AP.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, sometimes you have to go through the bad times to get to the good times. Um, I um, I am a strong believer in the law of large numbers, which honestly I don't want to do too much research into to see if there's any actual scientific backing for this, because there's probably not. It's
That's
probably nonsense and hokum, and I don't care. Because I know with empirical certainty from years, a decade of my own experience, if I approach 12 people a week every week and say, hey, I have an insurance policy for you to buy, it's going to cost this much, want to sign here and buy it, enough of them will say yes, that I am going to hit my financial targets for the year.
Mhm.
I have to do it every week, and some weeks are going to suck. But if you do it every single week, and you only need 12, I only need 12, maybe you need 15, but you don't need a lot, you know. Maybe you only need 8, but you have to do
Gotta
it every single week,
gotta learn your
week in, week
number.
out,
Yeah.
week in, week out, no questions, no deviation. Um, and when you get kicked in the pants and you have a bad day or you have a bad week, you go out and you do the same thing next week, because you know what you're doing works and you're not tinkering and you're not changing.
Let's take it a little bit deeper though. Like it's easy to have a bad day and get back out there the next day. Have you faced like true personal adversity, but the structure of your business has allowed you to keep both of those things in check and continue forward?
I mean, yeah, sure. Who hasn't? Like I've had family members die while I was doing this. My wife got long haul COVID. During 2020, she was sick in bed for about 9 months, um, while my daughter was home at 10 years old. Um, and I had a 4-month stretch where the state of Pennsylvania made it illegal for people to sell insurance face to face. Some of which is chronicled on my YouTube channel
Yeah.
on the insurance panel. Go to YouTube/the insurance panel. You can find those videos. Chris is on one of them, and those were hard. I mean, like stuff like that is hard, right? Um, stuff comes up, stuff happens.
I just feel like when stuff happens, because it's going to be guaranteed to happen,
Yeah,
a lot of those things are easier to manage when you know your money's under control.
yeah,
Like, well, at least I remember when COVID, and I still predominantly in Pennsylvania, live in Maryland, so don't worry about it. I looked at what was going on. I looked at how much my budget was, and I said, all right, this divided by this means I have about 6 months before there's really going to be a problem.
mhm,
But I can get creative. I can get on the phone. I can get into another state. I can travel. I got this figured out. Thankfully, it's not really a problem. And if no more money comes in for 6 months,
right.
but understanding how important schedule and structure and commitment is to your business, because when life goes wrong and it runs hard into that level of commitment, you're not completely broken down by it. That's at least what I feel.
No, I think you're completely right. Like if you have that foundation and you have that structure and you've got a process that you trust, you've got a schedule that you know works. Um, you've got buy-in from your family. You've got the emotional, psychological support of the people that are in your life. Stuff is going to happen. It's inevitable. Life happens. Excuse me. Life happens, and having that structure keeps things moving. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have renewals coming in, right? Like it is really nice to know that I make over 6 figures a year in renewal income. Like, that's handy. On the flip side, we have become accustomed to living on more than just my renewal income.
Yeah.
And so, like, you want to continue that as well. And yeah, it is important to have those structures. I would actually say it's kind of the most important thing. And I think it's the thing that people, when they're new, get trained to think about the least, which is sort of a shame. Most people are still being told, hey, market to your warm market, do a project 500, go out and get referrals from those people. That's fine, I guess. It's not a sustainable model.
No.
It's not a long-term sustainable model. It's not a model that's going to survive a pandemic.
Those models are those type of sales are nice surprises, and that's simply it. Like, I've helped plenty of folks out in my warm market and family, and I don't approach them; they've approached me. We've talked about it, planned it out, written it one day. But those are nice surprises. They're not an actual duplicatable, consistent business model.
No, it's a terrible business model. You know who it's a good business model for? It's a good business model for the person who recruited you, who just got 500 new leads.
Yeah.
That's who it's a good person. That's who it's a good business model for. If you want to go out and recruit agents to give you the names of 500 of their closest friends and family members, and then you can go run those appointments, it's not a bad business model for you. Good luck finding those people. I don't really know how to do that if you're not a multi-billion-dollar national insurance company, but it works. It's great for the upline. Fantastic.
What would you say is your favorite hobby or splurge outside of the industry? Because I think working hard entitles you to reward yourself occasionally, not look at how much something cost. What's your favorite thing to splurge on at the end of the week?
So I enjoy. Gosh, I'm going to sound like a pretentious asshole. So I like scotch. If I have a particularly good week, I will get myself a nice bottle of scotch. If anybody ever wants to send me like a nice bottle of like Kleinish 14, I would take a bottle. It's hard to find in Pennsylvania. I collect watches, which is like the world's worst hobby to get into. Don't get into buying watches. Holy cow. So that's a really good way to lose like $10,000 to $20,000 of your money at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is my wife and I put a lot of focus on traveling.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time traveling. And like, that's honestly, for me, where I am in my life right now, that's like the best thing that I could possibly be doing with my life. And we've been all over the place at this point. Some of it with carrier conventions, some of it just on our own, but we've been to, I think we've taken our daughter to 18, maybe 20 states at this point. And like 7 or 8 foreign countries. And then we've done some other stuff on our own. We're close enough to New York City that we go up to New York City a couple times a year, and we spend time in New York City. Go to a fancy restaurant occasionally. Went to Le Bernardin for our anniversary last year, which was really nice. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I like to spend my time doing. And then I also watch a lot of Premier League soccer, which again is sort of an annoying thing and probably not as good for my mental health as baseball, which is also not all that great for my mental health. But the Dodgers are a very good team. And, and for the most part, that works out well.
I've got that on the notes to maybe get to as we try to keep this within a reasonable amount of time. I want to talk one more sales thing, and then I'm going to talk one more in-between thing. For a final expense producer, let's say they're producing $15,000 a month, steady, consistent kind of producer. What would the realistic renewal income look like if they integrated Medicare into their $15,000 a month final expense production?
So the thing about Medicare that you have to understand is it really takes almost 2 years for you to understand what the renewal income of Medicare really means, because the way Medicare pays is weird. You can, if you're doing $15,000, 15,000 a month, so you're probably writing like 150 lives a year ish. So if you're writing 150 lives a year and you are asking 100% of those people that you sell, only the people that you sell, forget about everybody else. You can ask them too, but let's not count them. You ask 100% of all of those people that you sell a final expense policy to if they want to talk to you about Medicare also. You should reasonably convert somewhere between 75 and 100 of those 150 people into a Medicare sale. Maybe not instantaneously, but within the course of the year. If you do that for 4 years, you will be making $150,000 a year in renewals. Plus, you're writing $15,000 a month in final expense, and you'll have earned some sort of renewal base off of that. In the course of 4 years, you'll probably be making another $30,000 a month on renewals on that, assuming that your persistency is somewhat reasonable. Persistency with Medicare is super high. I lose a shockingly few number of my prospects. Most of my fall off is due to death. Yeah. I lose more Medicare clients to death than I do to them changing their plan.
I think if you can get it to stick past the rapid disenrollment period, it's going to stick pretty good. I wrote for years just Cigna, like that's it. Like if you were like, hey, I accidentally turned 65 and this card showed up in the mail, what do I do with it? Like, well, we enroll you in Cigna.
Yep.
Or I'm dual eligible and all I have is Medicare and Medicaid. What do? We enroll you in Cigna Total Care. Like that's all that I did for a while because that was enough for a while. It really should have been different. But the last 2 years got almost identical deposits because they lump sum your renewal deposit. And I think the only fall off I really had were people I accidentally rolled because I have really bad record keeping. But it's pretty sticky if you can get it past that 30-day period where they get a new card in the mail, they get it, their doctor is where it's supposed to be, and all that little thing works the way it's supposed to. So I can agree, if you do it right and you get past 30 days, it is pretty sticky.
Yeah.
I want to get back into the fun side of stuff, though, because every channel talks business incessantly. I want to be different. Trey Turner left the Dodgers. The Philadelphia Phillies signed him. I know we'll go to a game this year. I can guarantee it. What should the Phillies expect with Trey Turner being on their team?
Man, Trey Turner is very good. The Phillies should be very excited that they are getting Trey Turner. I completely understand why the Dodgers didn't want to re-sign him. They have something of a logjam of players, and he was expensive. And they are, even though they've got so much money, they are choosing to be financially responsible and not get hit with luxury tax. But man, Trey Turner is good, and now is a really good time for the Phillies to be doubling down and like making a push because they sort of improbably made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
And they have a core that is good enough to build on. And if they don't make a push, I don't think they're good enough to get back. But with some of the push that they're making, I'm high on the Phillies this year. I feel like the Phillies are coming in looking pretty solid.
I can't wait to see Craig Kimbrell crane hang over the mound as he did for years as an Atlanta Brave and been taunted, but finally be on our team, even if he isn't exactly the Craig Kimbrell of 5 years ago.
He's not, but it'll still be fun.
Yeah. Puerto Rico. You and I will be in
Yeah.
Puerto Rico in about 28 days, I think it is.
My gosh, it's coming up so fast. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't believe because we were just in Key Largo like last month, except it was like 10 months ago.
Yeah.
Right. Gee, boy, time flies.
Yeah. Why aren't there semi-annual trips? Like that would be pretty cool. Like 3-day getaway weekends, like abandon the whole concept. Yeah, it's hard to travel during the school year. I just did a video with Adam about that. But how cool would that be? I know a lot of IMOs do it, but a carrier that put up a trip twice a year.
I know it would be amazing. I'm annoyed because the family benefit. So I don't I for many years family benefit / Trinity Life was
Mhm.
my go-to company, and I don't really write them very much at all anymore. They've made some changes that
Phone interviews are stupid.
well, they've made some changes that make them difficult to write.
It's not 2016 anymore.
And so I'm probably never going to qualify for one of their trips again. And like I qualified for I think 4 or 5 of their trips in a row, and I got to go on one of them because the rest of them were like the last week of the school year. Or they were during the pandemic and they got shut down because, international travel was shut down.
Yeah.
And it's just like I just couldn't make it happen. Like it was awful.
Do you have any rumors on what the next KSKJ trip will be? Because I've been told they won't announce it until Puerto Rico.
I don't know why they're doing that. It's Puerto Rico is halfway through their sales incentive contest.
I know.
It started in November.
Are we in it already and we just don't know it? Is this
We are. The contest started November 1st.
November 1st.
Yeah, it started November 1st. It's been going on.
Like I need to know this kind of stuff so I can decide in the heat of the moment where I'm going. Like,
yeah. So like I don't know what they're thinking. That they're not going to tell anybody where you're going to go on this contest that started like literally it'll have started 6 months ago by the time they announce it.
That's crazy.
It's halfway over.
Now I looked in my notes and we didn't know about Puerto Rico until February of the preceding year. Like we got teased on it and then they announced it. So maybe they are on schedule. But if truly the contest started in November and we're not going to know till February, boy, I'm going to have to be turning on those jets quick to get wherever they're going.
The end of February too. I mean, it's almost March. This is like normally we would be in Puerto Rico next week if it was on their normal schedule. They traditionally do their trip over Valentine's Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure why. I realized my wife and I, this is going to be the first time that my wife and I have not been on a carrier trip on Valentine's Day since we moved to Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
Which is weird. So we actually need to figure out what we're doing in Pennsylvania for Valentine's Day because we don't know what Valentine's Day in Pennsylvania is like. It's like I don't know what restaurants to go to.
If they said to you, Nick, we don't know where we're having this trip yet, and we've got 2 weeks left to decide, where would you tell a carrier, be it KSKJ or anybody, that you would like to go on a trip to?
So I would like trips that take place in either the South Pacific or Europe. Okay. I would like to because nobody goes there. So my dad was an insurance agent when I was growing up. I mean, is still, he's not retired because people who do this are for a long time get wired wrong. It like rewires your brain. And so you stop being able to not work rather. So he's retired, but he's decidedly not retired. He still works like 40 hours a week in retirement. But when I was growing up, like carriers would send him to London. He went to Hong Kong. He went to Paris. He went to Switzerland. He went to Alaska and Sweden and like all sorts of places, Fiji, like all sorts of places. I feel like all the carriers send you to the same place now. They're all like going on the same rotation of places in the
Caribbean, California, or Hawaii. California, Hawaii.
Like, and some like lovely places, all lovely places.
No, we're not complaining.
No complaints. They're great. Like I thought Aruba was fantastic. I think Key Largo was fantastic. I think Hawaii is fantastic. They're all great places. But they're all the same places. One thing that I did like about Family Benefit was they were sending you to like Portugal and Ireland and Germany, and they were doing something a little different. I think like Hong Kong, Mekong River Delta, Bali, Fiji, Tahiti. Those would be cool, different, not quite the same.
In the summer.
Yeah, sure. Do it in the summer, especially if it's south of the equator. In the summer. Mm-hmm. New Zealand. Hey, let's spend August in New Zealand.
NAA is going to New Zealand. Like maybe we should just transfer. Like, do you think Scott and Whaling would sign off on that? We'll be back in a year. We just want to go to New Zealand, so we're going to go work with Andy Albright for the year.
Just for 1 year. Just for 1 year, just so we can go to New Zealand.
And they'll all know about it. Like Andy Albright will be in on it.
Yeah.
Waylon will know. Scott's fine with it. It's just for the trip, guys. We still love you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're just going. We're coming back. It'll be fine.
Okay, how about Ireland in July? Thoughts about Ireland?
I think Ireland is a great trip. I would love to do a trip to Ireland. July is probably a good time. I don't know anything about Ireland in July. I suspect the middle of the summer is as good a time as any to go.
Mhm. My vote.
I thought going to Germany in late June was lovely. We did a river cruise down the Rhine, which started in Frankfurt and ended in Budapest, and that was fantastic. And it was a really good time of year. We hit Vienna and had stops in. Oh gosh, I don't even remember. It's a long time ago now. It doesn't feel like that long, but it turns out I can't remember all the details of where we went. But it was a really good time. That was a great trip.
Moral of the story is insurance carriers. We'd like to know where we're going in the middle of the qualification period, but we're happy to qualify for it. We'd love to go in the summer. We'd love to go somewhere that isn't the Caribbean at this point. But hey, any trip we love because the carriers that don't incentivize us, I think it's kind of strange. Like,
Yeah.
there's still companies that have no incentives, even though they have the marketing budget for it. Strange.
Right. Especially the ones that don't pay very much commission.
Very strange.
You're not paying commission, you're not giving a lead bonus, and you're not sending anybody on a trip. That is and your renewals suck. What are you doing?
Very strange. Well, Nick, I appreciate filming the first of what I have dubbed the Industry Influencer Series. I'm going to upload this thanks to Fiverr and their power to do thumbnails at the drop of a hat out in India. And this will be live on, not live, this will be posted to YouTube sometime later today. Nick, thanks for joining me today.
Super proud to be on the inaugural episode. I think that's great. Thanks so much.
Alrighty.